was born and raised in Haiti. I moved to the States when I was 12 years old. And so I attended some parts of junior high and high school in Florida, actually, South Florida, West Palm Beach. Graduated high school at 18. I decided that I didn't want to go to the traditional route of just going to college. I wanted to travel a little bit. I wanted to serve. And so I enlisted into the U.S. Air Force. That was in 2004. I went to basic Texas. And eventually, I got stationed in Arkansas, Little Arkansas. I did 4 years in the military. And I also went to undergrad while I was in the military. I took classes part-time. I got my degree in criminal justice. And when I left the military after my 4 years, it was clear that I would, pursue a legal career because I've always wanted to be an attorney ever since I was a little kid in Haiti, watching movies and TV shows and seeing lawyers as, the competent folks that people rely on. That always appealed to me. And so I decided that I would move here to New York, where I have family, and attend law school. I went to New York Law School in Tribeca. And while I was in law school, I was very involved in the law school community. I was the president of the Black Law Student Association at New York Law School. I was involved in moot court and different activities. After I graduated, I ended up clerking with a judge in New York Supreme Court in Brooklyn on the commercial division. And my judge presided over cases involving business disputes, cases where you have business partners who are going against each other in a disagreement that they can't resolve. And so one of the partners filed a lawsuit. And so they come before the judge. And as the judge's court attorney, law clerk, I have to, hold conferences with the parties, figure out the issues, oftentimes make a preliminary determination regarding a matter until the judge ultimately decides the case either, via motion or through trial. And so I did that job for about 3 years. And then I left and went to work for a law firm in Manhattan, a big law firm, doing precisely what I was doing for the judge, but on the other side of the bar, as they like to say. I was at that law firm for about a year, and I happened to be the only Black attorney at that firm. And as you can imagine, my experience was not, it wasn't as good as it could have been because, in any situation where you're the only one, it's very hard to, it's very hard to adjust to that particular situation, right? And so I ultimately left that firm and decided I would start my own practice because number one, I've always wanted to have my own business, and number two, I wanted to create an environment where I could provide opportunities for other attorneys. Because one of the things that is really shameful is that the number of minority attorneys in the legal profession is not that large, right? The last time I checked, I think less than 5% of the entire legal profession is made up of Black attorneys. And so when I started my practice, it was in my mind that I would help to try to change that. And so that's where I am.
That's where we all are. I will talk a little bit about my experience. As I mentioned earlier, I'm mixed. My mom is Italian and my dad is from Côte d'Ivoire. And growing up in New York, specifically, going to private school and then, private liberal arts school, I've always had to, navigate like white spaces. And I actually never was really aware that I looked different until I actually started practicing in Europe. And when I went to law school, actually, because at the time I was in law school, it was the whitest state in the nation. Oregon just had no minority people. And in my class, there was me, mixed race, a Latina/Hispanic student, and a Black American student. And we were the only people in our graduating class that were minorities. So really there, it hit me because, you know, in New York, even if you are navigating a white university or, you know, a white office, you still see all different types of people when you're going out to lunch, when you're, you know, riding the subway. So you always see people who look like you constantly, even if it might not be at a university setting or a professional setting. And that's when I really started to, you know, be aware of my minority status, which was kind of weird because I never thought of myself as a minority. I've always navigated the world as myself, whatever that means to other people. And when I was in Europe, it was very difficult because I spent most of my time in Italy, and at the time I was very young. Plus, there's this, you know, advent now, this new culture of, you know, non-white Italians. And it was just very difficult for them to interact with me and to understand my cultural identity, whatever that means to other people, and understanding myself as both Italian and African. And then when I came to New York and I started to work for different law firms, I realized that I was the only one who had some sort of, you know, immigrant background or international background, and that wasn't white, which is so strange because you think in immigration law there would be all different types of attorneys that look all different types of ways, but it was not the case in my experience. I oftentimes was the only multilingual person, the only person who had an experience, whether it was an academic or a professional experience abroad, and the only person who had naturally curly hair. So I think that just like Joam, I've striven to lead by example. I hire people who are minorities and women who strive to be attorneys and want to be attorneys, because I think that despite the numbers being against us, we can work within our small realities and lead by example and provide opportunities to minorities and women who do want to be attorneys and leaders in the future. So that's my experience.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Akua?
Okay, so my experience as an immigrant here in the U.S. That's the question, right?
Well, your personal experience as you know, a Black person navigating, could be a Black immigrant as well, navigating in the U.S.
Okay, so yeah, as I told you guys earlier, I relocated from Ghana to the U.S. In 2016, which was just a few years ago. So I did my law school in Ghana, and when I came, um, huh, it was very well. It was tough because pretty much I didn't have the safety of, you know, I didn't have a strong network because I didn't have people who had gone to law school with me. So I had to sit the bar exam by myself. And during the time I was heavily pregnant and I had my toddler, it was just really tough because I had to do a lot of these things by myself. I didn't really have that much support or network, apart from, of course, my family. And once I passed and I became an attorney, I just realized that it was very hard to get a job in any type of law firm because let me tell you. So when as I stated, when I came, I passed the New York bar my first attempt. I already had a toddler who was 11 months. I was 7 months pregnant when I sat the bar, and it was very tough for me. And I was interested in knowing, you know, what my rank was, and my scores were part of the top 5% nationwide. But I couldn't find a job because I just couldn't find a job. I guess because of my name and my background. So, but because of the fact that I knew who I was, I didn't have low self-esteem, or I didn't feel like I wasn't capable. I just knew that, you know, the odds were just against me. So after searching and searching, I just remembered something my dad always told us. So as I had told you guys behind the scenes earlier, both my mom and my dad are attorneys in Ghana. And my dad, growing up, he had three girls, right? And he told all of us that we were all going to become professionals so that we would not depend on any man in life. So my first sister is an accountant, second is a medical doctor in Pennsylvania, and then I am an attorney here, right? And so another thing he told me was that if you're a professional, you never have to beg for a job. You always your license is your golden ticket. So always go for it, because my dad runs his own law firm. So I was like, okay, if nobody wants to hire me, why don't I build my own law firm and then hire people? So it was a very tough experience, not being welcome into these white spaces, because again, I realized when I came, what struck me was back home in Ghana, when I spoke, my accent didn't stick out in my ears, but being here, when I speak, I sound very different, and I'm very aware of that difference, when I speak. But yeah, it's been tough, but we just keep going and creating whatever we can create with whatever resources that we have been given.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mention, your accent and the way you sound and how you are judged on paper by perhaps your name. Or your address. And the same thing happened to me when I moved to New York. And it still happens to me because my first name is Greek and my last name is Yao, which most people assume is Asian, but it's like a very typical Ivorian last name.
Absolutely.
And it was my first job. People always make fun of me. My first job as a licensed attorney in New York, after having gone to law school in Spain and worked internationally in Europe as an attorney, I was making $10 an hour as a lawyer because nobody would hire me. And of course, I'm the type of person, like, you don't work, you don't eat. So of course I accepted it. And I'm very grateful to have had that position because it led me to be who I am today. But I remember going to an interview and the hiring manager was like, "Are you American? Because all of your work is in Europe. We can't hire non-Americans." Which, again, it's illegal to ask somebody that during an interview, but it's also very disarming. During an interview process, you're really expecting people to ask you about your expertise, your how you can improve the firm, how you can bring money to the firm. You don't expect to get asked these questions. And if I were probably blonde hair, blue eyed, probably they would be commenting on how vast my international experience was instead of asking me if I were American or not.
Absolutely. Electra, if I can jump in quickly, just to add to what you're saying, when you're different, right, and you go into a space that's monolithic, you have the added pressure to assimilate to what's perceived to be the correct way of doing things, and you not only have to perform your legal, duties, to the A+ standard, but you also have to make sure that your behavior doesn't offend, the majority class. And so it's very hard to navigate that, right? And can you imagine having to wake up every day, going to work, and having to worry about whether your boss will find, the way you are as a human being potentially offensive, and so it's a hard thing to navigate.
I agree.
And I wanted to, I'm sorry, go ahead, Electra.
No. I think Max wanted to say something.
Yes. So it's true in terms of it is difficult. I started out in a creditors' rights law firm, and it was all white. And I think what was difficult for me was the assimilation, but it wasn't just in terms of how they speak and really humor. Like, I didn't really know or understand white humor, and I wanted to connect, because they have their own culture. They speak differently. So, I started, watching a bit more Seinfeld, much more Friends, really understanding, because they have a bit of a different humor than we do. And, believe it or not, they have their own culture and how they do things. So it took a while for me to speak their language and to get understanding, because they won't assimilate to you or ask you about how things work for you or how's it going. You have to get in, and you got to fit in. And it's really, I had to really dig in or actually venture out and figure out, like, what is it that they like that I can connect with, because they're really not going to come to my side of things. And I think because they just don't know how. And I have to figure out how to fit in order to survive. And I had to do that in law school as well. My law school was predominantly white. I didn't drink beer before law school. I'm a liquor guy, but we're in the country. I went to school in Vermont. I played rugby to kind of fit in. I'd never played rugby. I'm more of a basketball and football kind of guy, but I wanted to do things so different, fit in. So I do a lot of things outside of my culture zone and comfort zone in order to fit in. And we live in the United States. It's predominantly white, and there's not space enough for us, for them trying to fit in with us or get to know what we're doing and adjust to us. It's always on us in order to make the adjustments. And that's just unfortunately how things are here in this country.
On the flip side, though, has it ever happened to you guys where you look the way you look and they just assume something about you? So I'm from New York, and I grew up in Harlem, which is, as everyone knows, like the most famous like Black American neighborhood in the world, right? And I created a group of women attorneys where it's a WhatsApp group. We've been networking since the beginning of the pandemic. And a New York lawyer asked me, I asked them, like, what does GOAT mean? And they're like, you don't know what GOAT means? I'm like, besides the animal, no, I really don't know what it means. And they're like, don't you listen? But one attorney, a white attorney, is like, but you're from Harlem. You don't listen to Jay-Z? And people who know me know that I just don't listen to rap. I listen to, EDM. I listen to house music. I'm a club type person. I just don't listen to rap. Although I do like Fetty Wap. I really love his voice. I love how he can sing very high octaves, but I'm not, a rap person. And that person just assumed that because I'm from Harlem and because I'm Black, that I listen to rap music. So it's happened to me a couple of times where people just assume that I would be into X, Y, and Z just because of the way I look. Or, it's happened to me that people have assumed that I'm white on the phone just because of the way my voice sounds, almost as if they expect a Black accent on someone who is a non-white person, which these are all very weird things if you think about it. Like, why would you just expect somebody to like a certain type of music because of the way she looks? Or why should I have a certain tone of voice just because I'm Black? These are, very, very weird existential questions that I ask myself. Why do white people think this way? Because I've never thought that way about white people. I never expect a white person to like classical music. Has that ever happened to you guys where they just assume that because you're Black, you must like something associated with Black culture?
It's happened to me, not from white people, but from African Americans. To me, I'm from a Caribbean background, as I stated earlier, and Harlem is very Afro, very Black Afro, as opposed to Brooklyn, which is more Caribbean, and that's where my family's come from. That's where I was born, and I was talking to a colleague of mine who wanted me to go to a restaurant, I believe called Sylvia's in Harlem.
Oh yeah, it's very famous. Yeah, Sylvia.
Yes, I had no clue what that was a couple of years ago. They're like, you don't know what Sylvia's is? It's a big restaurant in Harlem. I'm like, I don't venture up in Harlem, and I go to Brooklyn to eat. I don't or the city. I never heard of it whatsoever. Like, don't you know your Black Harlem history? I'm like, first of all, we don't get taught it in schools, number one. And number two, I'm from a culture where we kind of stick more Caribbean centric. And like, I bet you don't know any of the restaurants I go to in Brooklyn or anything like that. Like, so I haven't grown up.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point, Max. It's about exposure, being exposed to the other culture to kind of be familiar with it, right? And the unfortunate thing is when you are in the majority, like our white brothers are in this country, you don't have an incentive to expose yourself to the minority cultures, right? Because you are the majority, and the system is set up for you and for you to be comfortable. So there is no incentive for you to meet a minority where that person is, to learn about them, to learn about what makes them tick, to learn about what food they like, to learn about what kind of music they listen to. And so you just make assumptions based on what you hear in popular culture. You just assume that applies to that particular culture across the board. And so, the onus should be on the majority to trying to learn about us, right? But unfortunately, they have not really had a big enough incentive to do so. In the past couple of years, we've seen some changes, because of the uproar with what happened with Mr. Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement. You've seen some of the bigger firms in the country trying to talk about race issues more openly, trying to talk about ways to increase the number of minority associates and partners and women associates and the like. You've seen that discussion, but unfortunately, that discussion is not followed by action, right? Which is what we need, because there's such a resistance still from the majority to give up that power that they've held for so long. And so that's why what we're doing here, what you're doing here, Electra, is so important, to have us as owners of law firms, Black owners of law firms, to demonstrate that we have the power to create our own change, to start our own narrative, and to create opportunities for us. And so I think this is a very important endeavor.
Chanello, I see you nodding your head. Do you have something to add?
Yeah, I'm just agreeing with everything everyone is saying. I agree. And it leads to a question of, is that why we call ourselves Black lawyers? Because we're in the minority. If there were a majority of us in the legal field, would we still call ourselves Black lawyers? So the goal is to try to get as many people that look like us in the legal field so that we don't feel like we have to assimilate. We don't feel like we have to kind of have these two different personalities. We don't feel like we have to play rugby if we don't want to play rugby. We can just be ourselves and still be the professionals that we are, because we do bring that value to the table. Our value is no less than our white counterpart in the same space. And unfortunately, that's something that I had to deal with personally when I first started the legal field, in the legal field as an attorney, because here you are as a Black attorney saying the same thing or giving the same legal advice as your white counterpart, but they're listening to your white counterpart and they're not listening to you. And so I had to change my strategy and basically create the table myself to be able to show my value, to gain those connections, to gain the networks that I feel like would then give me the support I need to tell these other white counterparts she knows what she's talking about. So I think that the more we have very candid and honest discussions as far as why a lot of people that look like us aren't getting to the legal field, I think we can start then working on solutions to better that percentage.
Does anyone have any additional solutions besides hiring more diverse or Black lawyers? And I really like your point, Chanello, about like what should we call ourselves? Are we Black lawyers? Are we lawyers? Are we minority lawyers? Are we lawyers of African descent? Is there proper terminology for us? Because I understand your point about using this umbrella term Black so that we have more power in numbers. But is that the accurate term? And if we use that term, would that be alienating to maybe somebody who's African and doesn't call themselves Black? They might just call themselves African.
That's an excellent question, and I don't think I'm the person to answer it because I'm really not an expert in that particular area. But I will say that what we should strive to be, excellent lawyers, right? Excellent attorneys that set a good example for the ones that are behind us, and to demonstrate that the color of our skin doesn't mean that we're lesser than our white counterparts, that we are just as competent, sometimes even more so, that we're able to effectively represent our clients and to get them the most optimal results as possible. And you mentioned, Electra, what else can we do to increase our numbers besides just hiring people? We can also educate, right? We can expose law students, college students, high school students to us, and to show them that it's possible, right, to get to where we are, that they're not inferior to anybody, that if they want to go to law school and become an attorney and to have their own practice, that they can do it. And so even a program like this, where we're just sitting down and talking about our experiences, is also a good way to change that.
Akua, do you have anything to add?
I wanted to just say that well, we can describe ourselves however way we deem fit. I don't know that there's an appropriate terminology, but we can both be lawyers and black lawyers. I believe that saying that we're black lawyers is just descriptive. It's not limiting. And so that's how I see it. Yes, I'm a black lawyer. It's empowering. I'm a lawyer also, when it matters. I mean, sometimes as we keep hearing representation matters. When people hear that, oh, they're black women lawyers, black women law firm owners, I believe that it motivates and it inspires people to realize that there's something that this is something that they can also do, or a path that they can also do. So yeah, it doesn't really matter. And as Joanne was saying, the goal is to be excellent and to make sure that we are, worth our value.
Yeah, I agree. I think probably in the day-to-day of our practice, we probably, and our clients probably just see us as lawyers because they hire us to resolve their problems, to deliver value to them, and to produce solutions to their issues. So I think in the day-to-day, the small world, people just see us, or our clients just see us as lawyers. I have a pretty robust internship program, and it's available on my website, where you can get school credit, you can get a small stipend to actually come and work in my firm. You would actually work on cases, because I don't believe in getting me coffee. I can get my own coffee. So that's really what I try to do. Like, I put the opportunity out there. I have partnerships with many different universities because I was on a business trip with my husband. He's an engineer, and one of his partners brought along their daughter. And I asked the daughter, so, what do you want to be when you grow up? I kind of like expected to hear, actress, singer, dancer. And the woman said, the little girl said teacher. And I was a little bit bugged by that, because it really bothers me when like young girls or little girls kind of like go to the default female professions like teacher or nurse. And I asked her, well, why don't you want to be a lawyer? I'm a lawyer. She's like, I can't do that. And that really bothered me. That really made me very, very sad, because I grew up in a household where immigrant parents, very, very poor. We were very poor, but every day my mom worked really hard to instill in us that we were the best family. And to this day, I think that I'm amazing. And that's why I have this internship program, because I want young girls and minorities to know that they can do this. They can actually work on cases and graduate from college and graduate from law school with actual experience under their belt that they can describe in a job interview, have accomplishments to make them feel confident about who they are and where they come from. I always tell people I grew up super poor, guys, super, super poor. Oh, wow. And if I did it, in pretty poor conditions, then you guys can do it too. Of course, with the right support, the right opportunities, the people who believe in you. That's why I have this internship program. And every semester, every summer, we have young girls, like college girls, who come and work. So for you law firm owners, I encourage you to have this sort of internship program, whether it's in person or remote, because, they don't know what we do every day. Young people don't know what a lawyer does. Young people don't know what a consultation is like. And I think it's important to show them so that they can see in their day-to-day experience in real time how much we change lives. And that feeling of changing somebody's life is so empowering, whether you're Black or minority or woman or African. And I want them to have that feeling.
Absolutely, Electra. I think this is it's a great program that you're doing with the young kids and having them giving them internship opportunities. I also do a program through New York University. It's called Legal Outreach, and every year undergrad students and minority students organize different events. And one of the events includes having lawyers such as myself come and talk about our background, how we got to where we are, and all of that. I think it's a great program, and I certainly encourage all of you guys and anybody who's on this call, who's an attorney, a minority attorney, to look into similar programs, because, like Electra was saying, these kids really, a lot of times they don't know that it's possible until they see someone who looks like them, who actually did it, and that alone can give them the motivation to actually undertake the journey. So don't just assume that just being there is not going to make a big difference. It definitely will.
I as we speak here today, as I was preparing, answering for the list of questions that we had, and this was about Black History Month, Black lawyers, and I guess in my mind, I think for our audience too, the expectation was, the topics to be more legal, more lawyerly, but this is a very human experience. This is something that's real, and as much as we dedicate our lives to our studies and to our practice, what we go through day to day is a human emotions, human experience. The frustrations that we feel when we have a difficult case, the frustrations that we feel when we can't get hired by a law firm. I'm sure any person who is an aspiring employee who wants to get a job can understand what it feels like to be rejected for reasons other than your qualifications or lack thereof, or you're super qualified. So it's, as lawyers and being Black lawyers, it's what we go through is a microcosm of what society is going through, and it's on us, like for anybody else who's a minority, to really pave the way for those behind us. And I think what you and Joan is doing, I'm sure the other panelists as well, is doing something great. I did have an internship. It was before COVID, but I did have an internship. I was running for about 2 years, where I would actually have them come and help me on my legal podcast and legal YouTube channel. Electra, you did a couple of my episodes, which I appreciate. Mm-hmm. It was that episode, the immigration one. A lot of people really enjoyed it, and I try to, with my platforms, showcase me as a Black man. And like you guys said, they can't see us be a lawyer all the time. Like, they don't see us drafting documents, but we can display our legal acumen. We can showcase how much we know, and we can showcase it in very fun ways. There's a lot of hot topics out there that we could talk about and discuss and showcase how we're so well versed in it, and how we can make it accessible to those who are out there. And the more we put ourselves out there, put our black faces out there, put our African faces out there, and showcase how smart we are, how intelligent we are. When President Obama became president, it was a big impact. A lot of people saw a person of color like us up there. When Kamala Harris became vice president, but Black women, we saw her up there. We see that. We can see it. There's a way we can get it done. So the more we expose ourselves to society and let them know that you can do it, it can be difficult, and it can be hard, but you can do it, and it's accessible to you. And we're here to provide for any assistance.
I like how you mentioned that it was difficult, because I feel like a lot of young people, a lot of discussions that I'm hearing are about imposter syndrome, and how they might not feel like they know they have the qualifications, they know they can do the work, they just feel like an imposter in that situation. Have any of you felt like that? And if you did, how did you resolve those issues?
Well, I can answer. I can try to talk about that. So I don't know, again, if I'm the right person, because I don't believe I've ever had that imposter syndrome. Because again, I went to law school in Ghana and everybody looked like me. So, I didn't stick out, or there wasn't anything very different about me. And well, I guess, being an attorney, a business owner, a law firm owner, I'm on several groups with the lecturer, several attorney groups. And I believe a majority of these people are, American white, many of them are white, and I guess we stick out. And again, for me, I'm extremely dark, so I guess I stick out a lot more than somebody who's mixed or whatever. But I never have the imposter syndrome. I just, I go for it. I'm just unapologetically ambitious. I don't care.
I love that about you.
I just don't care. That I'm me. I go for it. I don't care who's looking. I don't have time. I'm just too focused. Where I'm from, there are just so many people looking up to me. I just don't have time to care about what you think, because when I started my law firm, again, I told you guys nobody had wanted to hire me, so I didn't start out in an immigration law firm and learning the ropes from somebody. I had to do it all by myself with two little toddlers, no help. So I was asking questions on the attorney groups, and I had people nudge me in the background, like, you asked too many questions and no stuff. I'm like, too bad. Like, when my eyes are on the goal, nothing else matters, and I have to get there. So I don't have time to feel like, oh, I'm an imposter. I don't cower. I take up space. I mean, I own it. I just go for it, and that's just my attitude. So honestly, I've never had that problem. I believe I deserve to be where I am. I've put in all the hard work. I'm remarkable. I'm intelligent. I'm beautiful. So I just don't have the imposter syndrome problem. But for the people that do, I'm not sure why they do. I don't know what type of experiences they had and why you would feel that you are less. You are there because you deserve it. So it's all about always doing your best every day and focusing on your work product, and being, again, as Max said, being human, connecting with people, genuinely caring for people, and just being amazing. I mean, why not? You are. So just don't feel like you don't deserve to be where you are.
That's awesome, and that's the right mindset. You said it perfectly. But I will say that early on in my career as a baby attorney, I guess I had what you would call imposter syndrome, but I would rephrase it and say that I was unconfident. Unconfident because I did not have experience, right? So in my first year as a law clerk, I was fresh out of law school, and I would have these big commercial cases involving millions of dollars, and you would have these attorneys, from these big law firms, from Skadden Arps, come in front of me, and I would have to, conference the case. I was a little bit, unconfident because I did not have experience. But as I've moved along in my career, I've learned that a good way to overcome that feeling of imposter syndrome is to do things, right? To gain experience, to do things, because the more you do, the more experience you get, the more comfortable you become, and so that's what I enjoy in my practice, because it allows me to have freedom to do things, to try new things, well, for example, I'll give you a good example. So when I started my practice, I took on a case that I did not have any experience in. It was primarily because of a favor for a colleague of mine. The case was an employment law case. I represented a young Black woman who worked for this company, this big company, who'd been discriminated against. And I took on the case. I had never done anything like that before. So I filed a charge with the Equal Employment Commission. I wrote a letter to the employer. We went back and forth. Ultimately took the case to arbitration. I hadn't done an employment arbitration before, but I did it, right? And as I went through the process of the case and ultimately settling the case, and my client, was pretty happy with the result, I learned that essentially I can do anything.
Right.
Just so long as.
Can I add to that? Yeah, I realized that normally the reason that some people, I don't know if it's most people, some people have the imposter syndrome is because, for example, if you're an attorney, some people simply don't study. Whatever you're doing, if you are not confident or that you don't know, you're always scared, right? So one way to overcome it, in addition to, of course, working, is to make sure that you're giving your very best each time. If you're going to have to appear in court and you haven't reviewed your client's file, you haven't studied, you don't know your principles, you haven't practiced, then of course you're going to go and then be scared and worried. But the more you put yourself into what you're doing, and the more you dedicate your time to making sure that you've honed your skills and you're learning and studying and practicing, then you're able to minimize that imposter syndrome feeling. So it's all about, for example, if you're going to sit in a car and you're going to be driving on a highway and you don't know how to drive, you're going to get worried, right? Like, okay, what am I doing? But the more you practice and the more you read the rules or the road signs, then you become confident. So we need to put in the work to make sure that we can get rid of any type of imposter syndrome.
And if I can quickly add to that before I turn it on to you, Max, is don't be afraid to make mistakes, right? Don't make the big ones. Like missing statute of limitation deadlines. But just don't be afraid to make mistakes, because ultimately it's going to be okay, right? If it's not a mistake that's going to prejudice your client's case, you can explain it to the client and you can recover. But ultimately, if you do your best, you take action and you make mistakes, you can recover from the mistake. The key is to continue to make action, to take action, to do things, to gain experience. And in doing that, you will gain the confidence.
Right. Yeah. You stole a little bit of my thunder there, John, but but it's all good. Yeah. But I've okay. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Yeah. So I've experienced some imposter syndrome. It's when you walk into a room or when you have clients, they expect the attorney to be the smartest person in that room. You're the attorney. Don't you have the experience? Now, I know the law, but I don't know your industry that well. I don't know tech. I don't know the algorithms of how to build a platform. And they're like, well, aren't you in technology? I was like, well, legal wise, but I don't know how. Now, there are attorneys who've gained so much experience where they kind of know the business side of things and know some of the details of their clients and able to, bequeath that experience to other clients. But when you're starting out as a baby, there is a feeling that, wow, they're expecting me to be so smart, but I'm not there at that knowledge. I'm very good at the law, but I'm not there yet. So like Jerome says, it is about just gaining experience and really learning about how you don't know. So sometimes you got to be straight up. Like, I don't know, but I'll get back to you. Like, I'll find out and I'll reach that for you. And the most important thing is when you may not have all the knowledge. Oh, did I get through that again? Oh, jeez. Can you guys hear me at all?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So you can hear me. So you may not have all the knowledge, but I think it's always important to exude confidence. You may not know the subject matter, but you could always speak confidently, speak slowly, speak with some of authority, and speak as when you don't know. He's like, sir, hey, I don't know about it, but I'm gonna make sure I'll find out, and I'll call you the next day and find out what the best way to go about your situation. So I think it's always a battle that we have. I think through anything in life, but always be confident that you will get better, you will know, and at the end of the day, when you get that deal done, those contracts that you get, those are the contracts you can use for later on, and you'll get more confidence. So year by year, understand that you'll get better. So when you run into a situation, it's a little bit difficult and the little imposter syndrome starts to kick in, just relax and understand that the way to get through it, speak confidently, and know that at the end of the day, you're about to get some jewels that you can use for next time to really show out.
Excellently said. Chinelo, I see you nodding your head. Is there anything you want to add?
I'm like a bobblehead at this point. I should just doing that. But no, I agree with everything everyone said. Imposter syndrome is real. A lot of us, when we first enter the legal field, we feel that, because it's almost like, are we even supposed to be here in the first place? We don't see a lot of people like us.
Hell yeah.
Right. Like, are you guys sure I passed the bar? Are you sure I'm an attorney? So, we start to question ourselves. We start to doubt ourselves like, oh gosh, okay, now I made it. Now I really have to do this. And the anxiety kicks in, the nervousness kicks in. But like you guys all said, the more knowledge you have on that area of law that you practice, the more comfortable you would be to represent your clients. And of course, what is our favorite answer whenever someone asks us a question? It depends.
It depends.
Because we have to go back and research and make sure that the answer we're giving you is very comprehensive. You know, we're not just going to give you the answer for the question you asked. We'll attach everything else around it so you have the full picture. That is us as attorneys. So part of our job is research and learning on our own, figuring it out for us to then come to you with the answer so you don't have to do all that work. So a lot of that comes with time and experience, and being very knowledgeable in that field. There's a law about everything. There's a law about this computer that we're in front of. There's a law about our phone. So you can go into any area of law you want. There's so many practice areas. If you don't like one, you can try another one. I know a lot of us didn't just start off with one practice area. We kind of dibbled and dabbled in little areas till we find that perfect fit that worked for us as an attorney. So what might work for me might not work for you. And if you're watching this and you want to be in the legal field, you want to be an attorney, I would suggest contacting those in the area that you actually have a passion for, seeing what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. Because sometimes you think that's what you want, you get in and it's like, yeah, no, I don't want this anymore. It's not what I thought it was. And then some things might surprise you. You think you don't like it and you get in like, whoa, I really like this area. And that's kind of been my journey. I've kind of dibbled and dabbled in a lot of different things, but I feel like I'm finally where I want to be. I feel happy. I feel fulfilled. I feel like I'm truly helping clients and I'm passionate about it. But the goal is to always treat your clients as you would want to be treated if you were on the other side. So,
correct.
Yes.
And to add quickly, Electra, before I turn it over to you, the good thing about being a business owner and owning your own law firm is that you can't afford to have imposter syndrome, right? Because your client doesn't care about that. Because your client wants results, right? So your client doesn't have the time for you to say, "I'm nervous, I don't know what I'm doing." It's like, what can you do for me, right? If you have a client, a small business owner that comes to you that say, "Hey, my business is about to fail. My partners like me of my accounts. I don't know what to do." You can't, reply and say, I have imposter syndrome. No, you have to say, I'm going to, research the issue.
Yep.
I'm going to help you. I'm going to solve your issue. And so when we get to this stage, like Akua was saying, we have to embody that confidence, knowing that we are worthy, that we are, smart, that we got to this point because we are brilliant, and just on that and go out there and do what's best for your client.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to say was, I just wanted to make an observation that, we had no hand in how we look. It was bestowed upon us. You just woke up one day and you were you. So why worry about that? Like, there's nothing you can do, but it's not like there's nothing as if it's something bad. No, it's just difference. It's diversity. So it should really not be our focus. Let's just go for it and keep, being relentlessly persistent in our ambitions and, impact our communities the way we can do, the way we know how to do best. And the other thing is, some attorneys feel like because I don't have all the law in my head, then I'm probably not good. No, being an attorney, a good lawyer is not somebody that knows all the law in their head. That's impossible, right? There will be no good attorney. It's all about being able to interpret laws and then helping people in real life, making sure that their problems are resolved through your legal expertise. So if that's the reason why people feel like, okay, maybe I'm not that good, then it's really not, it's just not true. It's all about putting in the work and getting results.
Yeah, I just want to add, everyone gave brilliant advice. The reason why I asked you guys this question is because I give speeches at universities and I always get asked this question. And unfortunately, my answer is not a very good one because I've never felt like an imposter at all. What I don't know, I make up for in confidence. And I'm the type of person, go big, go home, make it happen, get it done. There's no room for failure because as attorneys, we have an ethical duty to deliver excellent legal services for our clients. As business owners, we have an economic duty to ourselves and our families to get it done and make it happen. So this is what I tell young people when they ask me this question. Worry about yourself. If you are not the smartest person in the room, if you are not going out all the time and networking, if you are not out there working on your career 24/7, because we all do it. I always tell people, I have 3 kids. I do it. If I can do it, you can do it. There's no excuse. If you adopt that old school mentality of make it happen, get it done, let me study, let me know, then nothing will stop you. Nothing and nobody will stop you, and you will become the person that you were meant to become. So the world distracts us, especially if you're a New Yorker, you live in New York, there's so many distractions all the time. Don't let those distractions screw you up. Stay on your track. I always tell my staff, I was that annoying associate that always asked questions. I was that annoying associate that would go to the managing attorney and say, how can I make your life easier? And I thank God that I was that annoying person, because now I'm really good at what I do. And if you want to be really good at what you do, you need to do work 10 times harder than the person next to you. Doesn't matter if you're fat, skinny, black, white, Asian, I don't care. Those are the rules of the game. I didn't make those rules up. This is how the world works. So regardless of where you come from, who you are, who you aren't, get it done, make it happen, go big or go home, because you owe it to yourself to give yourself the best good faith effort at making it. And whatever that means to you, it could be owning your firm, it could be working at a big firm. You owe it to yourself to give yourself your best good faith effort. And that means working 10 times harder than your neighbor, your neighbor's neighbor, your neighbor's neighbor's neighbor. And those are the rules of the game. You either accept to play the game or you sit it out. And I think that sometimes these are really hard things to hear as a young person, where they're always like, I want to make money. It's not about money at the beginning of your career. Nobody made money at the beginning of their careers. You know, it's not about pretentiousness. It's not about self-righteousness. It's about make it happen, get it done, go big or go home. These are the rules of the game. And in saturated legal markets like ours in New York, LA, Chicago, San Francisco, this is just how you have to play. And there's, unfortunately, like you said, Akua, no time for that distraction of feeling like an imposter. No time. On the road to success, there's no time for that. Fail quickly, fail a lot.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Fail
But
quickly,
do
fail a
not
lot.
get distracted by nonsense like I'm not supposed to be here. Nobody looks like me. No one's ever going to look like you. That's why no one's ever going to look like you.
Yeah.
I think that pushing people to dig out that strength from within them is probably the greatest work that we have to do as leaders in the legal field. I'm all for listening to people's experience about feeling like maybe they don't belong there, or, you know, the negative things that happen. And unfortunately, because we are minorities and we are women, it's going to happen to us all the time. I went to court the other day and they asked me if I was a paralegal.
Wow.
They don't know that for artist visas, I'm top 3 in New York City. They don't know. To them, I look like a paralegal. Who cares? To my husband, I look like a supermodel and a superstar. Who cares?
Yeah. Actually, let me add to that. Yes, that's a very important principle that you just talked about. Even from my bar exam experience, as I told you guys, I came here, you know, I studied law. I did law school in Ghana. I didn't know anything about secure transactions, or there were just so many things in law I didn't know. But I sat the bar my first time, passed it. What I realized was that if you put in the work, you will get the results. And people are always looking for the secret formula. What's that? Oh, how are you doing it? There's no secret. I put in the work. Like, just put in the work. That's it. End of story. If you don't put in the work, you're not going to get the results. And people are just looking for shortcuts. And okay, there's nothing like that. You just put in the work, and then time will be the, you know, determining factor of your work. And the other thing also is that there's nowhere that you want to get to that you can't arrive there. If you really want to get there, you'll find a way to get there. So putting in the work is key. Yeah, there's just so many distractions of ways like TikTok and all these things, but put in the work and stay in your lane.
Absolutely well said by Max, quickly. Absolutely well said by lecturer and Akua. Really, you know, ideas are great, but ultimately in the real world, they're worth nothing without action, right? You can have the best idea ever, If you're not taking the action to make it become reality, then it doesn't mean anything. And so that's why you have to work every day, like Electra was saying, towards making your ideas a reality. And if you work hard enough, the universe has a way of kind of parting the seas to make a way for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it wants to do that, but you got to keep pushing, right? If you keep pushing, it'll make a way and you'll achieve your goal. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about putting in the work and, and putting in action. And what does that mean, right? It's people don't have to understand, and we talk about shortcuts, but there's a building phase. You have to build it brick by brick. And the thing is, you can't just try to swing for the home runs, or try to do everything, try to take a mile in one bite. It's consistency. One brick today, one brick tomorrow, one brick today, one brick tomorrow, the brick after that. You have to continue to build. And what was the building process for me? I set up my firm and I got my logo, I got my internet, but then I had to go out and meet people, take people out to dinner, for lunch, follow up, build relationships. We are in the business of people. The kind of thing, how you get money from people, and they have to trust you enough to give up their money to you. So you have to build a rapport. You have to build up expertise and display your legal acumen. That's why you write articles. That's why you go on panels. That's why you post on social media and show how cool you are and develop some clout, because then they want to be like, I like this person. I want them to represent me. And that takes time because you have to build trust. You can't walk in there, hey, let me take your case. You have to embed something into that person, into that potential client, and so they can connect with you and be like, and they can say to you, I want you to represent me. But that takes time. When you, like in any relationship, when you were dating, you had to go out and date, and they had to like you, they had to trust you. Hopefully you guys didn't get proposed on your first date. You guys have to figure it out and see if this actually works. And it's the same kind of process. You have to build and mature and showcase that you are a good lawyer. And that takes, and I've gone to backyard talent shows in the middle of East Long Island where there's really no talent out there. But I kept going to these places because then you'll find out one person who could take you to the next level. Then you're in a different room. Then it takes you to the next level. Then you're in a totally different room. So you got to keep climbing, but it takes time. But you won't do that unless you build consistently. It's not one day I do it and the next day I'm going to take off. You got to do it every day. Be consistent, because each day that you don't do it keeps you further away from your goal. So be consistent, keep building, and keep going forward. That's for anything. Lawyers, doctors, shoemakers, directors, actors. It's about the consistency.
And just to sum it up, it's basically, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? Because if you want it bad enough, you'll find a way to get there. Sometimes you have to play a little chess along the way. To get to that end goal. There's more than one way to skin a cow, like they say. So, if one way doesn't work, are you just going to give up? No, you have to find a way, because really, how bad do you want it?
And in chess, a pawn can always become a queen.
That's right.
A pawn can always become a queen in chess. There is always a way to win that chess game. That's so cool that you do that, because I always tell people in my firm, life is like a game of chess. You got to learn strategy and tactic in life.
Absolutely.
And the thing I want to add to this is that I realize that a lot of people feel like they need permission. You don't need anyone's permission. Like in my LinkedIn inbox, sometimes I get hundreds of messages from people like, oh, I'm a law student. I want to get into your field. I want to be where you are. How did you do it? And to be honest, I normally don't have time to mentor all these people. I have my own life I'm dealing with. And sometimes I just want to tell them, you don't need my permission. Go out there, fight for it, learn. There's just so many resources. You do not need anybody's permission. Just don't forget that.
Well said.
That's right.
Well said.
Yes. Guys, we are over. But it's been such a great discussion. And I hope to invite you guys back in later sessions. Next week, we're going to be doing artists. The week after that, we're doing students. And then we're going to be doing professionals. So I hope that everyone who's watching will tune in. And I hope to invite you guys back, all the panelists, next year or next month to celebrate Women's History Month, because that's a whole other really important discussion to continue to have in the legal field, especially because minority women make up about 2% of partnerships in big law. And in terms of women who run their own law firms, we're about 5% Black women who run their own law firms. So any last parting words, guys?
No, really, thank you, Electra, for doing this roundtable. It's really important. Thank you for inviting me to take part in it. This was my first time. I enjoyed it immensely. Thank you to my distinguished fellow panelists. You guys are inspiring. Your words today really inspired me. So thank you for that. And yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Electra, for allowing me to speak and represent my firm. And, we've known each other for quite a while now. I'm impressed by what you're doing. Your marketing skills are top notch, and I appreciate for being tagged along. And Joan, we've worked together on a few things, and I appreciate
Absolutely, my brother.
for the impart of your knowledge that you've given me. And so you've been great for my practice. And the other panelists, I hope to work with you sometime in the future. And I enjoyed learning from you guys. And so contact me anytime if you guys need any assistance. And I hope those who are listening out there are inspired from our words. And you could go ahead, get it done. You can do it, put in the work, and you can accomplish your dreams.
Well said.
Agreed. Thank you guys so much. It was great meeting all of you. And I agree, Electra is like a marketing genius. So I'm not surprised that she is one of the top in New York City. It's great to have iron sharpen iron. It's great to be around great attorneys that can improve you as an attorney as well. So I always appreciate listening to people that I've never listened to in the same field that I'm in that look like me, and learning even more than I already did. So I'm blessed to be on this panel with you guys, and I truly appreciate it. And I hope we can all work again in the future together. Absolutely.
Definitely. Akua?
Well, thank you. I mean, you guys have said it all. Brilliant people. I'm just inspired. I mean, it's just like, again, like just a fireplace where everybody has different fires, and the burn is so bright and big, and I'm leaving very motivated. I'm just excited about my future, the future of my law firm representing immigrants around the United States, and nothing can deter me. I hope nothing deters you too. No imposter syndrome, put in the work. You can't do it. We're here to make a difference. Somebody once told me, Akua, hey, you came from Ghana. You didn't just come to look at the White House. You really came to partake. I'm like, hell yeah, I need to leave my mark. No time to waste. So guys, just I hope you do amazing stuff with one another and for the community and for the US as a whole. Thank you so much for the invitation.
You guys were amazing. You guys were awesome. I enjoy being around people that are smarter than me, more creative than me, have a lot to input. So I love being around you guys and learning from you. I will just say one last thing to everybody who's watching. If you're a law firm owner, fall in love with your law firm every single day. Discover new things that you can do to improve your client experience. If you're a law student, fall in love with the law every single day. You're going to learn new things all the time. If you're a student and you don't know what to do, fall in love with yourself every single day. Push yourself to discover things, to get lost, to get found. I always say when I was younger, I had the best time getting lost and getting found. So fall in love, because love oftentimes will push you and motivate you to discover things that you never would have imagined. And that's how I feel about my law firm. I fall in love with my law firm every single day, and my clients are the heartbeat of my firm. I wouldn't be here without them. And I know the same is true for all the attorneys on the panelists. So it's going to be Valentine's Day soon. So let's continue to fall in love with the work that we do and the people that we serve.
That's right.
Amen.
Great ending. Amen.
Bye, everybody. Thank you, everyone,
Bye-bye.
for watching.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
care.
Bye.
Bye.